A judge gave a gag order today. Did you hear that on speech? Which I believe is totally unconstitutional, what she did. A judge gave a gag order. A judge doesn't like me too much. Her whole life is not liking me. But she gave a gag order. You know what a gag order is? You can't speak badly about your opponent. But this is weaponry all being done because Joe Biden is losing the election and losing very, very badly to all of us in the polls. He's losing badly. But what they don't understand is that I am willing to go to jail if that's what it takes for our country to win and become a democracy again.
The Trump Gag Order.
Mr. Reagan.
So this Judge Tanya Chutkan, very obviously an activist judge, a puppet for the DNC and the deep state and everybody in D.C. chanting, "Get Trump!" This judge, she's issued a gag order on Donald Trump. Now, the gag order is being reported as narrow. It's a narrow gag order because it's very specific in scope. Trump is essentially not permitted to express any opinions about anyone involved in the actual case, in the trial. He can't talk about the judge. He can't talk about Jack Smith, folks like that. But the consequences of violating this order are pretty freaking extreme. And this is entirely up to the judge's discretion. And I think that that's the real reason for this gag order. And I'll explain what I mean by that in one moment. First, of course, I have to tell you something. Now, I have been getting fit lately. I'm lifting, I'm walking more, I'm eating right, I'm eating less, a lot less. And I'm going to make a full video about all of this very soon, so stay tuned for that. But by now, I think we all know that the food pyramid that's been pushed by the government for so long, it's not really the perfect prescription for good health. And for some of us, the food pyramid just makes us sick and fat. And according to Dr. Gundry, a world-renowned cardiologist, many of the foods in this food pyramid contain toxins that can cause digestive issues. According to Dr. Gundry, warning signs include weight gain and fatigue, and also digestive discomfort and stiff joints and even skin problems. Well, Dr. Gundry explains that these side effects are often mistaken for normal signs of aging because digestive issues develop usually over a matter of years and sometimes even decades. And Dr. Gundry asserts that the damage I mentioned is probably caused by so-called health foods, and it's far from normal. And I'm a strong believer that aging does not have to coincide with deteriorating health, as people tend to believe. So if this guy has a fix for deteriorating health, I am all for it. And fixing your health, he asserts, is very simple. You just have to know which foods are actually healthy and which contain this hidden potential toxin. So you can go out and find this yourself at gutcleanseprotocol.com/Reagan. That's gutcleanseprotocol.com/Reagan. And you can, of course, click on the link in the description below this video to check that out. So I don't think this gag order has anything to do with Trump threatening anyone or any of the reasons Democrats might try to justify this nonsense. I think it has to do with the extreme consequences that the judge laid out for potentially violating this gag order because Trump is going to ignore this. Trump has to express himself. It's like part of the core of his soul. It's part of his DNA. So what is the consequence that I'm so concerned about? If the judge decides, for whatever reason, that Trump has violated this gag order, she can put him in jail. She can order him to sit in a jail cell until the trial is over. Seriously.
I am willing to go to jail if that's what it takes for our country to win and become a democracy again.
That is pretty freaking extreme for a presidential candidate. But that is what she has declared. And as we all know, this gag order is entirely unwarranted. Heck, the whole freaking case is unwarranted if we're honest. But you know what? The left has said time after time, every time that they try to persecute Trump by prosecuting Trump, right? They put him on trial for anything and Trump complains about anything. They always say, oh, Trump is threatening witnesses, stuff like that. But this is always a reaction to Trump literally just expressing an opinion. Like if Trump says, this prosecutor is completely wrong, the left is like, Trump's threatening the prosecutor. This has been a tactic of leftists, of anti-Trump leftists for years, and now they are capitalizing on it.
We call it the wrap-up smear. If you want to talk politics, you call it the wrap-up smear. You smear somebody with falsehoods and all the rest, and then you write it, and they'll say, see, it's reported in the press that this, and this, so they have that validation that the press reported the smear, and then you merchandise it. and then it's called the wrap-up smear. Now I'm going to merchandise the press's report on the smear that we made. And it's a tactic.
So now Trump can't even say this judge is being unfair. This prosecutor is an idiot. This witness is lying. He can't say anything like that in public. If he does, the judge can just throw him in jail.
This order that the judge imposed is the most restrictions that President Trump has had on his speech to date. You've heard him on the campaign trail, on the stump, his stump speech. He often refers to Special Counsel Jack Smith as deranged. He's called his staff thugs, for example. Those words were heavily used in this courtroom today with this order that this judge ultimately imposed. She said that the former president, that Trump cannot use those words as it relates to the special counsel, as it relates to his staff. He can't disparage witnesses, for example. He also can't speak about former Vice President Mike Pence's role in January 6th, for example. And you know, when Trump attacks Pence, that is mostly what he focuses on. So it really was a stunning ruling from the judge. But the big question now becomes, what happens if he violates this?
Now, let's be honest. There's no real fear that anybody involved in this case is going to get whacked or even threatened. The truth is that Democrats just want Trump to be under their control as much as possible. They want to know that if they decide that they want to, they can just flip a switch and have him put in jail behind bars. And I'm guessing that this trial will be drawn out as long as possible so that they can flip that switch as close to the 2024 election as possible if they feel like they need to do so in order to take the election away from Trump. And they will do it. I believe that they will do it. I mean, Democrats in D.C., the deep state folks, they will literally do anything to keep Trump out of office. Of course, there is an obvious First Amendment argument here, as well as an election interference argument. A Trump spokesman issued a statement that read, "Today's decision is an absolute abomination and another partisan knife stuck in the heart of our democracy by crooked Joe Biden, who was granted the right to muzzle his political opponent, the leading candidate for the presidency in 2024, and the most popular political leader in America, President Donald J. Trump. President Trump will continue to fight for our Constitution, the American people's right to support him, and to keep our country free of the chains of weaponized and targeted law enforcement." A totally appropriate statement, if you ask me. Now, a lot of conservatives on X, formerly Twitter, have referenced many of the issues that I mentioned before, the constitutional issue and the election interference issue. Mike Davis wrote, "Barring a criminal defendant from publicly criticizing the prosecutor and the judge is clearly unconstitutional. Gagging a presidential candidate is what happens in third world Marxist hellholes. The D.C. Circuit must fix D.C. Obama Judge Tanya Chutkan's clearly erroneous ruling." Tom Fitton wrote, "Obama judge, in an unprecedented intervention in the federal election, will gag Trump from criticizing election-rigging Biden regime DOJ officials prosecuting him. Also restricts his ability to exercise his First Amendment rights, criticizing his political opponents who are witnesses in this abusive prosecution of him." Scott Adams wrote a much more positive tweet. He wrote, "Gagging Trump guarantees his re-election." Well, I don't know if Scott Adams is right. If the election in 2024 will be a fair one, then perhaps it's true, but I don't know. What do you guys think about this gag order? Are you more angry that it's unconstitutional, that it's clear election interference, or are you, like me, most angry that they are setting Trump up to be imprisoned leading up to the 2024 election? In any case, we all know that Democrats are corrupt thugs, con men, criminals, and it's important that we keep talking about their dirty tricks every day. And that's why I wanted to talk about this story today. I don't think it's getting enough coverage in the right-wing media. I've seen it several times in the left-wing media, but I've not really seen it talked about that much in the conservative media, which I think is quite a shame. Now, remember to buy all of my Trump mugshot shirts and mugs. And remember, it's not that liberal friends are ignorant. It's just they know so much. That is not so. Good night.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. And this idea that government is beholden to the people, that it has no other source of power except the sovereign people, is still the newest and the most unique idea in all the long history of man's relation to man.